Okay, so this is video 5. Okay, so World War One, World War Two, was an aristocratic, was the uh, aristocratic white supremacist desire for, and their desire for World War III is about, all about the blood. Where does the person's blood come from? Okay, what race are, and the race, the Neanderthal race they are a part of. Now there are two races, right? There's a Neanderthal race, and there's a human race of the East, and um, there's a Neanderthal Ashkenazi race of the West, and that's a race of the aristocrats, right? And for them, it's all about where their blood comes from, right? As to who they decide to be allowed to be part of uh, their clan, or who they decide to destroy, right? So that's what the person needs to ask themselves. What race are they a part of? You know, not knowing what race are they a part of, right? Um, and that's going back to, what if the black man was God? Though I don't believe he is. I don't believe. Hypothetically, what if the black man was God and you're treating him the way you do? And then when heavens opened up, right? And then he stands before you, and you have to call to mind whether or not, I know, you have to call to mind, yeah, you have to call to mind whether or not you're going to get in, because you're remembering all the things you did to him and the way you felt about him and what you supported against him when he tried to get reparations, right? And you were part of the crew that stood against it, right? As in the Asians, some of the Asians who aided to get rid of affirmative action, right? Right. Okay, now, so you have to ask yourself, you know, what do you support, the East or the West? Okay. That's what the New World Order is about, right? To try to, that's what cancel culture is about. To cancel the culture of the East that, you know, has civilized the world, for the Antichrist culture of the West, the homosexual, transgender culture of the West. That's what the New World Order is about. The Antichrist, you know, homosexual, aristocratic, Western aristocratic white supremacy. That's what the Antichrist is about. Wants to make you think he's God. That Jesus on the cross, that white Jesus, is the Antichrist. Now you know who the Antichrist is. When you step in your church and you see that white Christ, that's you looking at the Antichrist. He's a Western image of God. Their God. Who's their God? Satan. Okay? The Nazis worship the Antichrist. The Zionists represent the Antichrist. The Ashkenazis represent the Antichrist. Okay? That's the family of the Antichrist. And they are trying to, right? And they made in the image of their father, their God, right? And they worship Iblis, Satan, right? The one who's fallen, right? As it relates to September 14th, right? 2023. Safar 22. No, Safar 30th. 2023. No. Safar 30, 1445, September 15th, 2023, as it relates to the asteroid and child and all this, right? And the Virgo new moon, right? And then to be followed by the attack of the Muslims in Palestine, the the attack on the Afro-Kemetic Alkebulan Nation of Palestine. October. This was a wall. Rabiel Wall, 22nd, 1445. October 7th, 2023. A day after the assassination, the Memorial Day of the assassination of Anwar Sadat. Right? So that was the breaking of the peace accords. Because the beast would, right? The beast would have the peace and then he'd break the peace. Right? So is it any wonder why the ceasefire didn't work? Okay. Now, so that was the Memorial Day of the Memorial Day, the day after the Memorial Day of Anwar Sadat, who transitioned Hajj 8. I can't remember that year. I think it was, what was it? It was 1981. It was 14, no, it was 13. It was 14, I think it was 1401. Yeah. October 6th, 1981. And that was during the Muslims making Hajj. They assassinated Anwar Sadat, right? Okay. Now, so anyway, now, so as we said, they want war because they want the new world order. They want the world to be made. They want to be perceived as in the image of God, right? And the Western supremacy, right, over the whole world, right? And they want to use what was those computers? Quantum computers, right? Quantum computers to demonstrate their superiority, their electric cars, their, what do they call, Neuralinks, 15-minute cities, destruction of all the food, natural food, got to eat bugs. So just total destruction of the natural order to create this abnormal lifestyle to claim their superiority, right? Okay. But they got to have World War One, two, three to do that, right? Nuclear destruction, right? Okay, now, okay. So, so it depends on where their blood comes from, whether or not determines whether they accept or reject the person, right? And those of the East, they reject. Those of the West, those who want to ally with the whites, with the Western aristocratic white supremacists, Nazi white supremacists, they accept, right? Khazarian, Ukrainian, and all that, right? That's what they want to accept, right? They want to embrace. They'll embrace you if you embrace that, right? Okay, now, so the true face of Nazism is colonium. The true face of Nazi Zionism is colonialism, imperialism, Western imperialism by the Western aristocratic homosexual who want supremacy, right? Okay. So teach your children the truth of who they are, what they are, and teach them that they are part of the global rainbow body of humanity, from the phallic or the semen of the DMT, melanin richly black, carbon pharaoh or father, right? Ra of the East, right? They are part of that global humanity, right? That is their ancestral heritage, right? And the children will not feel so alone and insecure, or even they won't, or nor will they feel threatened when they are finally able to reintegrate into their global humanity, right? Okay. Dang, I messed up here. Wow. Okay. And I got a question for everybody, others, okay? Not only the those who, with the hypothetical, if the black man were God, but and again, that's a hypothetical. I don't believe the black man is God. I believe there's only one Allah, but I also believe that Allah created one man, and that is the black carbon atom, right? Okay, and from that he created woman, okay, Hawa, Ma, right? Um, and he educated that black man, and they were created in Jannah, right? Okay, and taught by Allah. So if there's one man superior over the other, it's the father of all humanity, right? Okay, so now this is another question. Okay, those who seek to get the bag, right? And they got to do all these terrible things to hold on to that bag, and the bag represents a lot of money, right? To be able to work in their system, right? To be able to be a superstar or a mega politician or have a mega church or whatever they do on the grand scale in society, right? But they have to sacrifice something, right? And then they got this bag. They get the wealth for doing so, right? And like Kanye West said, what he did something or another for a happy meal, right? Compared to sell his soul for a happy meal, right? Okay, now if the person sells their soul for a happy meal, the happy meal is considered to be a bag, but for some it's a lot of wealth, right? Over poverty, right? They choose wealth over poverty, right? And they sell their soul to get the wealth, right? Now, let's say, and what do they do with the wealth? They buy their house, they buy their car, they buy big cars, they buy big house, they buy whatever they want, the Gucci, the Poochie, the Moochie, the Hoochie, whatever, they buy whatever they want, right? They live very lavish lives, but they watch the world, right? Children massacred, children RAPE'd, right? They watch, and they can't say a thing about it, right? And they go home, and, they go home and live in their house and eat their food and drive those cars knowing what they know, right? Knowing that the system allowed themselves, knowing the system they sold their soul to is, of that Nazi, Western, aristocratic, white society that sacrifices humanity. Bloody sacrifices them. And all the corruption they do. All the wickedry they do. How long are they going to be able to swallow their food? How long can they live satisfied? How long can they be satisfied living in those homes? Feeling good about, the wealth they've acquired as a result of selling their soul to a system that massacres people, bloody massacres, invades other countries, stealing their wealth and, causing genocide and burying people alive and, bombing them and, just taking the wealth of other nations and occupying them and, all the mass incarceration and, just the inhumanity. And they sold their soul to those people, to those spirits who, do those things. How long can they be satisfied with the wealth that they obtain as a result of selling their soul so that those people who cause those problems among humanity, due to this death and destruction, transgender children and all this, calamity they bring upon the earth, catastrophic calamity, and their soul has been given to that type of activity. I say activities to belittle what's going on, They sold their soul so that those who bring about that calamity, that horror, those nightmares upon people, they sold their soul so that those people, to enable those people, those Nazis, those white supremacists, those Western aristocratic white supremacists can do that. Can bring about global destruction. contaminate people, bring viruses on the earth, cause mass starvations. How do they feel? How long can they feel good about eating their food and driving their cars, knowing that is their soul, their energy, their life source? It has enabled them to do that. Those not white, those Western, those Nazi, Zionist, aristocratic, okay? Western aristocratic white supremacists, enabling them to do that. And you know, there's another thing too. When selling your soul, you look at, some people may look at their soul as something very minute. Oh, it's just their soul. No, you're selling your celestial, you know, your celestial energy that you represent. If you represent, let's say you're a Leo, and you sold your soul. You sold the energy that you get from the constellation of Leo. You sold your soul as it relates to the energy you get from the sun. You sold your soul as it represents you as an avatar for the sun, as it represents you an avatar for the constellation of Leo. So that's a lot of power. And you sold it for a car, a nice house, some food, fame. Really? That's not going to last forever. So, you know, it's stated that the rat child and his family has over $500 trillion. $500 trillion. Imagine that. That seems like a lot, right? But it's only a lot for their lifetime. Think about that. It's only a lot for their lifetime. So if they live 50 years, it's only a lot for 50 years. They got to leave it behind. So it's not a lot at all. It's an illusion of wealth. And what did they sell to get it? Their souls. So where are they going to have to rest in the eternity? We're going to go to video 7.